out here reconnecting with nature, but for what reason?
AI, of course. Now, AI has been around for a while, but new recent forms of generative AI have been introduced into our daily lives.
On today's episode of Underground, we're going to exploring everything, even generative AI. Stay tuned! Generative AI is all around us, in our phones, laptops, and all the media we consume. ChatGPT, Sora, Dole are some of the generative AI programs that people have been using to create videos and do homework. Jayden and I did some interviews on campus to see what our fellow students think of AI and how they use it.
So my name's Omar Lozano, and I'm a dual major in hospitality management and health and exercise science.
My name is Mark Berkeley. Currently, I am a chemical engineer major.
My name is Exie Salmon. My major is forest and rangeland stewardship.
My name's Jayden Hannon. I'm a business major here at CSU.
I'm Zuma Frankovic. I'm a soil and crop major in the agriculture department, and I'm focused on regenerative agriculture.
I'd say I use AI at least like 3 times out of the week.
I think less often than most students, but like daily, maybe once or twice. I'm trying to learn how to use it better.
Not too often. I would say like maybe once a week.
I would say I use AI probably a few times a week.
Very rarely. I only really try to use it when I absolutely think I need it, because I know it's pretty damaging to the environment and communities.
I use it, funny enough, for like meal prepping food. I know as a college student, you don't really have the most materials or ingredients to make food. So I kind of tell ChatGPT to make me a dish with the ingredients that I have. So
I use it a lot in my engineering class, trying to figure out errors in codes and stuff. I just got done with that class, actually. It's helped, a lot, trying to figure out errors in coding and stuff.
English is not very I don't do well in it. So I use it for like formatting, like questions, stuff like that. I think it's helpful with that.
I like to use AI for idea generation. I don't think you should really be copying, pasting, and it's not your own work, but I'm not like the most creative person all the time, so it definitely helps with coming up with new ideas.
Sometimes I use it to help me create study guides if I have just like a really long list of things that I need to know and I have no idea where to find that information. I'll create a study guide out of it, but I think I've only done that twice.
I think it is ethical to use AI, but more of a moderation side to it, especially when it comes to studying. You shouldn't use it to always study, because we wouldn't want to not learn the things that we want to learn, but just making sure that you use it in moderation whenever you can.
It depends on how you're using it. If you're using it to like plagiarize or, take AI ideas as your own, or not putting your own thoughts behind something, taking credit for it, I think yes. In other cases where it's, improving efficiency, or maybe you're developing your own AI and using it, I don't know. It really is situational, I think.
You can use it to like formatting stuff, like I use it for, but anything that's not really your own words, I feel like it's not very ethical to use it that way.
I feel it's ethical if you're doing so in good faith and not just completely plagiarizing and stealing ideas. Obviously, the whole idea, you're given an assignment, you're supposed to do it, not someone or something else. So I feel using it to help you come up with ways to get that assignment done, sure. Using it to completely do it for you, not ethical.
Not really. I really don't like using AI because I feel like it's pretty unethical because of how much it's draining our environment, how many water resources it uses, and how it affects communities where those plants are. I think it's just something that's going to get out of hand really quickly and has a lot more harm than good.
It is becoming even harder to tell what is AI and what isn't. So, let's play a game. You're going to guess which image is human and which is AI.
While sometimes AI is obvious, sometimes it isn't. So here are some tells that can help you figure out what images are AI and what aren't. AI can just not get the hands right, like at all. There are always more than 10 fingers, or it's just one like giant blob instead of 5 fingers, which is almost ironic that AI cannot recreate hands, since cave art was one of the first forms of human art that we see and that we know of, and those were always handprints on the walls. It's almost beautiful to think of that AI cannot recreate something that we created in the first place.
Another tall tale sign is textures. There's almost what looks like a filter on AI images that makes it look unreal and uncanny in a sense. Another tell-all sign are the eyes. They may be recreated well, but there's this sense of soullessness that just doesn't look human.
Generative AI is pretty easy and accessible, but is it ethical to use? The biggest issue that generative AI has at the moment is that it steals from the internet, meaning it steals from real artists and real human-made artwork made by real people. The difference between real artists and AI is that generative AI just steals from what's already been created, while real artists create something entirely new. Even when artists reference other artists in their work, they still give credit while also creating something entirely different. AI just pulls from whatever's been already made, so it's just a mush of random art all give together without any credit given.
A while ago, the TikTok community was in full outrage by a statement made from the user Marcus DiPaolo, stating that, quote, people who have no creative abilities and disabled people need AI to create art, end quote. But man, was he wrong. That comment enraged so many artists who showed their talents, many of whom were disabled, and were further outraged by the comment because they had learned to create art the way it was intended to and the way they wanted to. They create these beautiful pieces without the use of artificial intelligence because they chose to put in the hard work to create something by hand. There is a distinct difference between creating something by hand rather than just typing in a prompt into ChatGPT. You just created something that no one else has made. There are human touches and mistakes within the art, which is what makes it so beautiful.
Generative AI is hurting our generation by destroying its critical thinking. People are using AI to ask the simplest questions that they used to be able to do on their own. There's a commercial for Google Gemini where a girl uses the AI to see how to wash a special shirt with special instructions. But the tag on the shirt tells her how to wash it. So instead of reading the tag, she just takes a picture of the tag and has Google Gemini do all the work for her. I think it's really important to just be confused and take your time to do that research and think. Some people even use generative AI to order coffee, and you don't need AI to help you order coffee. Just look at the menu in front of you because no one knows what you want more than yourself.
Some businesses are trying to replace people with AI. Some jobs like graphic design, writing, and video graphics have to compete with AI and are unfortunately losing. Sometimes businesses would rather use AI to create something quick and mediocre rather than pay an actual artist to create something special and unique. Greta, all this talk of AI is making me really wish I was at a house show right now.
Funny that you say that. We just went to Surfside 7 and interviewed a bunch of bands who were doing a show all about abolishing ICE. How about you come check it out with us? For this episode of Underground's Media of the Week, Jayden, Warner, and I explored Fort Collins' local music scene. Surfside 7 hosted a show with a variety of artists on October 26th. The show's theme was about the recent ICE raids and was bringing this situation to the public's attention. We were able to interview some of the bands that performed and the band that put the whole show together.
Yeah, our band name is Tiny Humans. We are a grungy, garagey punk band that makes noise. And we hate fascism and the government. And I've never felt a better connection that I have when I play with Lily and Ginger. They are great people, they're great musicians, and I just really enjoy their company.
Honestly, I just feel like all we have left at this point in our control is community. Stuff like this is like, I feel like helping a lot of us keep our sanity, and also just, finding spaces that are safe and a way to talk about these issues is going to be the most important thing going forward. If talking about these things, didn't work and spreading awareness didn't work, then the government wouldn't work so hard to stop us from doing stuff like this.
Help out. Give and back. Don't ignore people who are struggling and all of that.
All four of us have just loved music all our lives, but specifically started the band because we're in our early to mid 20s and we just haven't done anything with our lives, and we just really want to get out there and kind of have a voice. And part of it's music's a fun hobby, but then also we got to do shit like this, raise awareness for actual valuable political action that matters. Our friend described it as melodic alternative because it's kind of like alternative music, but with an emphasis on the melody.
It's cool to just be doing something that we love to do for a really, really good and poignant reason, especially now. I mean, it's always been bad, but this is bad, and it's cool to get more people looking at this kind of stuff.
But shows like these are a really good way to actually interact with a community and physically be in attendance to make change. It's just an opportunity to get out of the house and actually contribute to fighting what's been going on.
Music and art in general is just really cool because you get to make people feel things, whatever that might be. It might be something political, might just be something very simple, but it's cool to, I think, evoke emotion in something as simple as playing an instrument.
Our music is definitely garage rock. We're influenced by a lot of bands that are called garage rock, but also we literally make our practices are in the garage and stuff. We record in the garage. I watched this documentary where Kathleen Hanna said it was easier to find friends and turn them into instrumentalists than it was to find people who play instruments that she could be friends with. So I was like, hey, I have friends, and eventually I convinced Sophie to try drums. My dad is probably the biggest Ramones fan that I know, so I grew up seeing them all around the house and posters and art and CDs and stuff, and I was just like, man, these are the weirdest looking guys ever. I couldn't decide if they were cool or not. They just had me hooked from a young age. I was like, damn, you can be kind of a weirdo and be in rock and roll, or you can be look kind of like a dork and make rock and roll, so I was like, it's always been a dream of mine. It felt at least somewhat achievable, so.
Playing music and listening to music is one of the most cathartic experiences possible. I think it's a very good and healthy outlet or whatever. I don't want to pose my music as resistance or whatever when there's a lot more direct things to be resisting, but I think it's very good to at least get the basic first steps of organization done and actually get people in the same room with each other. Because it's kind of amazing how in such a connected world, how far apart everybody really is.
Some are nobody's saying abolish ICE. We're saying abolish ICE. ICE. All right.
What are you doing?
Underground has so many more views than NoCo Now. I got hacked into their channel. I'm in. Where'd the power go? Hello? Oh, well, looks like the power's back. Welcome to the basement, or should I say, the underground. Sorry for the sudden power outage, as our electrical grid has been pretty strained lately. I wonder why. Speaking of power, did you know it takes the electricity equivalent of roughly 80,000 houses to produce enough power for one AI data center? Additionally, these centers tend to be as large as 4 football fields, and as you can imagine, that's super concerning for agricultural areas such as Colorado. So, to dive a bit deeper into this topic, I went to the CSU Center of Biology to talk to Dale Lockwood about some of the environmental concerns of AI.
I'm Dale Lockwood. I'm an associate professor in biology and in the School of Global Environmental Sustainability here at CSU. The leading environmental risk with AI, I think, again, when I talk sustainability with students, there's no one size fits all and no one right answer. AI centers are chasing after cheap electricity. They're not focused on water as much. So we're seeing them, in Las Vegas area. We're seeing them in eastern Washington state where it's very arid conditions, but they're going after cheap hydroelectric power. We're seeing them in Arizona. We're seeing them, beginning to show up in Colorado more. And that's because we have in these areas cheap electricity, but that puts demand in very arid conditions on their water supply. In other areas, it's a concern for the air quality. I mean, if we think about it using up more and more power, and if that's forcing power companies to stay on carbon-intensive power sources, we're having a longer-term effect and a global effect on climate. We are so behind on renewable energy just to power our needs that throwing in this massive scaling up of power that these data centers are going for. We're talking now that the internet and associated kind of power, the internet and AI are now looking at consuming about 5% of our electricity in the United States. That's an enormous sector. Does AI have a future? Yeah, I do think AI does. Like any technology, you don't put the genie back in the bottle. The question is, how do we tame the genie? How do we use it wisely for our and everybody's best interest?
See that line all the way up there? That is where the water level used to be. Now, this is all that's left. ChatGPT did that. Oh, AI told me.
No, that's not true. Use your brain.
Upon doing my own research, I realized I misunderstood the problem. ChatGPT didn't drink all that water. The building where it lives did. You see, for AI to work, it needs a big warehouse full of computer chips, called a data center. When these computer chips run, they generate heat. And as anyone who has ever used a computer will tell you, heat slows everything down. That's why normal computers have fans. But as far as I can see, the only fans AI has are tech bros. So data centers use water cooling instead, which means that in order to cool these data centers, they evaporate a bunch of water. And as we all learned in elementary school with the water cycle, water vapor goes up into the atmosphere and eventually comes back down as precipitation. The issue is that it doesn't come down in the same spot, meaning that the limited amount of water available to a community is essentially being drained away every time you use AI.
Water use is astronomical in these data centers. Depending on how they're using their water, large data centers now we're seeing using more than 1 million gallons of water a day per data center. So we're seeing just a huge increase. This has led to drought areas. They're holding up construction in Phoenix on housing because they're concerned about not having water for the community. And in Colorado, we're exposed to a very arid condition as well. So this is a concern. We're already kind of water limited in this state, and data centers pose a serious potential risk to local communities in that sense. How soon will we see the effects? We're seeing them right now. They're already happening. There's counties in the Midwest, there's counties in the Southeast where wells are likely being affected. So homeowners are reporting that after the data center went in, nearby their water started turning brown, their filters started getting clogged, their water pressure decreased because of the water draw that's going on and the disruption of water. We're seeing large amounts of water being diverted in other communities. We're seeing other industries altering their plans based on the fact that there may not be enough water to go around in other regions. There are counties in the U.S. that I know have received requests from data centers, and in their proposals they're asking for more water than the county actually has basically available.
And the problem will only continue growing as more of these glorified warehouses continue to be built across the country. All so that Google search can tell us to eat pebbles as part of a balanced diet.
I feel good about that.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Wait, I'm getting kicked out?
What's going on? That's not good. Oh,
Thanks, NoCo Now, for that awesome crossover.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Underground. See you next time.